The Warriors just smoked the Spurs by 42 points, moving them back into the 6th seed, with a critical matchup against Memphis on deck that's going to play a huge factor in deciding the Warriors' playoff seeding. Let's talk about it. The Warriors, for once, finally got off to a quick start. They jumped on the Spurs early with a 19-6 start. How many games have we seen so far this season where the Warriors are unserious in the first quarter and go down 10, 15, 20 points? Now, the majority of the time they do end up coming back and winning the game. But how about starting off strong for once and setting the tone? They shouldn't be tricking off every first quarter and then spending the next 3 quarters of the game trying to play catch up. Well, luckily, this game there was none of that. Golden State was playing fast, they had good pace, they were forcing live ball turnovers that got them out running. The Warriors had a 44-point first quarter. That's the best scoring first quarter of the season, with their previous season high being 42.
You know, we've been talking about getting off to better starts, and we got off to a great start. You know, the offense was pretty crisp. Guys did a good job defensively. They missed some shots early. That's kind of the nature of the modern NBA game. Shots go in, shots don't, and we were due for a night like this to make some threes. You know, we haven't shot it well recently, so really good start, and that set the tone for the whole night.
Tonight, after a few slow starts, what did you like the most about the way you guys came out?
I think we were just conscientious of our start. Coach challenged us yesterday, practice to get off to a good start, and it helps that kind of second wave of guys, you know, ease into the game and not feel like they have to fight back for us. But he said he was going to stick with the lineup just because we're 10-0 or now 11-0 with this group that we're starting. So just emphasis on moving the ball, getting easy early shots, and then, you know, playing good defense and just kind of putting the two things together.
A couple of key stats from the game. 42 assists and 17 steals. The Dubs were extremely disruptive defensively, and they were playing amazing team ball. 42 assists as a team for a game that didn't go to overtime. That's pretty impressive. Now look, I get it. They were playing the Spurs without De'Aaron Fox, without Victor Wembanyama, and without Greg Popovich. They're essentially tanking. But you can't completely discredit a 42-point win against another NBA team. They played well, and they won a game they were supposed to win. And with how tough the remaining schedule is, in a tight playoff race, they gotta bank every win they can get. A few more takeaways from this game. Quentin Post, you gotta live in the weight room this offseason, bro. There was a play where Quentin Post caught the ball in a post against Harrison Barnes. Quentin Post tried to post him up, and I kid you not, he couldn't move him 1 inch. Not only can he not move him, he actually bounced off him, lost ground, and got forced into a turnover. Look, Harrison Barnes is a pretty strong dude, and he's always been a solid post defender. But Harrison Barnes is 6'8", 220. Quentin Post, you're a 7-footer. Now look, I'm not expecting Quentin Post to be able to destroy Harrison Barnes, but to not even be able to move him 1 inch, yeah, you're gonna have to hit that weight room, strengthen that core, strengthen that lower body a little bit. That's gonna be Quentin Post's next evolution in his game. He's gonna still be primarily a pick and pop shooter, but in those instances when the shot clock is running down and he has a smaller defender on him, he's 7 feet tall. If he has a smaller defender on him, he should be able to take advantage of that matchup. But with all that being said, it's really not that big of a deal. His 3-point shooting at his size is so valuable that even if he never developed a post game, even if he never got stronger, just him as he is right now as a player brings extreme value to the Warriors. Moving on to Moses Moody. Moody's been in a shooting slump as of late. Coming into this game, he was 6 of his last 32 from 3, so it's good to see him getting back to knocking them down. Because if the Warriors want to make a deep playoff run, it's essential that Moody and Poz are hitting their threes, especially the open ones. They gotta knock them down. With this win over the Spurs, the Warriors are now 17-2 with Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler both in the lineup. Their only 2 losses were to the Mavs, where Kyrie went bonkers and couldn't miss, in that game against Denver that they tricked off without Jokic or Murray. It's crazy to say, but they can easily be 19-0 with Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler both in the lineup. But hey, we'll just have to settle for 17-2. All right, let's talk about Pods, whose 3-point shot is quietly becoming a weapon for him. Against the Spurs, Pods had a career-high 7 made threes, going 7 of 9. He becomes the second youngest Warrior ever to make 7+ threes in a game. After a slow start to the season shooting the ball, Pods is now up to 35% from 3. He's now hit 173 out of 482 3-point shots for his career. That's 36%. That's a pretty decent sample size. And although his 3-point percentage is technically lower this season, I'm comfortable saying he improved as a shooter. He's attempted more per game and he's taken more difficult ones. Per 36 minutes as a rookie, he attempted 4.3 a game. This season he's attempting 6.2. He still needs to get those attempts up a little bit more while also improving his 3-point percentage. But I think he's on the right trajectory going forward. Starting next season, if he can get his 3-point attempts up to around 7 a game per 36 minutes, shooting 37%, hey, I'll take that. Once his 3-point shot gets a little more consistent, it'll open up the rest of his game. He already added some elements to his offensive game. His deceleration drives, his step-in scoop shots, he already has some pretty solid footwork. But once defenses are reacting to his 3-point shot more, they won't be able to go under on screens anymore. He'll be able to sell his pump fake more and get to the rim. It's just so many ways that having a threat of a 3-point shot can open up your game, especially for a creative player. And I think Poz is one of those guys. All right, let's talk about Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga took a hard fall in the first half and was ruled out for the rest of the game with ankle soreness. Mind you, this was the same ankle he injured before. I'm hoping leaving him out the rest of the game was more precautionary and he doesn't miss too much time. But if JK does miss time, and with GP2 out, that means more minutes for Gee, Buddy, Moody. We might even see Kevin Knox get some minutes.
He's our highest plus-minus guy on the year. Obviously, he doesn't play a ton, but he plays a really important role. He comes in and he gets offensive boards and he moves the ball and he plays with great energy. He's a difference maker. I feel great about playing Gee if he has to play more with JK's absence, and he'll be ready to go.
Really hope he doesn't miss extended time because the Warriors were already struggling to incorporate him back in the lineup. To put it simply, ever since JK came back from his injury, a lot of the lineups with him and Butler have not been good. I'm on record saying Jimmy Butler and Kuminga are going to work together, but up to this point, the numbers say otherwise. Now, I'm not going to wave the white flag and write off the idea of them ever being good together. They definitely need more time to mesh, which is why this Kuminga injury came at a terrible time, with only a handful of games left. They don't have too many opportunities to figure this out before the playoffs start. All right, let's talk about this bloodbath of a playoff race in the West. So the Clippers thankfully just lost to the Cavs. This is the one and only time you'll ever hear me saying this, but shout out to the Cleveland Cavaliers. With their loss to the Cavs, the Warriors are now one game ahead of the Clippers, and they're technically in control of their own destiny, which would guarantee them at least a 6 seed. Now I will preface that by saying, the Warriors have a way tougher remaining schedule than the Clippers. Matter of fact, let's check out their remaining schedule. So the Clippers have 8 games left. So they're at Orlando. They're at home for the next 5 games after that against the Pelicans, Mavericks twice, Spurs, and Rockets. After that, they're at Warriors for the season finale. So their schedule ain't too bad. They should beat Orlando, but the Magic are one of those tricky teams. Home against the Pelicans, they should win that. Mavericks are home for 2 straight games. Anthony Davis is back from his injury, so those 2 games are going to be tougher than expected. Spurs at home, that's an easy dub. Then they got the Rockets at home. That one might be a coin flip. Then they're on the road against the down bad thirsty Kings. They should beat Sacramento, but you never know. And then obviously that game against the Warriors for the season finale is going to be huge. I wouldn't be surprised if that game's outcome decides the higher seed. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath. All right, let's check out the Warriors' remaining schedule. So on April 1st, the Warriors are at Memphis. Then they're at Lakers 2 days later, and home against Denver on a back-to-back. They're then home against the 2nd seed Rockets, on the road against Phoenix. That Phoenix team is super soft, by the way, and KD just had a nasty ankle turn, so he might not even be available. By this point in the season, the Suns probably already have their plans for Cancun laid out, so it should be an easy dub. After that, they're home against the Spurs and at Portland, and again, they finish the season at home against the Clippers. So yeah, I would say the Clippers definitely have the easier schedule. The Warriors' next 3 games are brutal. At Memphis, at the Lakers, and then back-to-back against Denver. After that, they got the Rockets. Although they usually bully the Rockets, they're still a good team. They're the 2nd seed for a reason, and they're 9-1 in the last 10 games. They're playing some really good basketball right now, so that game's not going to be a gimme. After that, Phoenix may or may not be fighting for their playing lives. San Antonio and Portland are 2 tanking teams, so those have to be dubs. And then straight up, you got to beat the Clippers. No excuses. So we'll see how it plays out, but the Warriors do technically control their own destiny.
Big stretch coming. If we can beat Memphis, we get the tiebreaker over them. That's huge. You know, we're right there with the Clippers, and Lakers are only a couple ahead. We got them after, so it's quite a race going down the stretch. We have a difficult schedule. You know, our last 8 games are pretty tough, so we're going to have to continue to play well. But tonight was a really good effort, and you know, it's good momentum builder.
Memphis coming up. Did you watch them play the Lakers last night?
I did.
What'd you see?
They're different with their new coach, play a little bit differently on offense. Obviously, it was a good thing for us that the Lakers won because we have the tiebreaker, at least right now, with the Grizzlies. And so putting them down a game, they can lose against Boston and then we can beat them. That'll put us in the 5 spot. And so I'm just excited to play against them, another opportunity. And the good thing about our schedule, we play everybody that's above us except OKC.
All right, so since the Warriors got Memphis next, I thought it was only right to do a Memphis preview. The Memphis Grizzlies are 44-30 after their loss to the Lakers the other night. They just fired their head coach Taylor Jenkins, who was a pretty solid coach for them, and they're coming into their matchup against the Warriors, coming off a back-to-back against Boston. So the Warriors are actually in great position because the Memphis Grizzlies might possibly be coming in riding a 3-game losing streak, with the Warriors in position to make that a 4-game losing streak. So the Memphis starters are John Morant, Desmond Bane, Jalen Wells, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Zach Edey. That's a decent lineup. Their big 3 of Ja, Bane, and Jaren Jackson are all healthy and playing. And they got 7'4", 305-pound Zach Edey at center. In terms of lineups and matchups, the Warriors might want to think about starting Quinton Post this game. And I say that for a few reasons. Number 1, like I said, Zach Edey is 7'4", 305 pounds. Now I'm sure Draymond's up for the challenge, but that would be a huge physical toll you're putting on him. With Quinton Post being 7 foot 240, he could take on some of that load down low. Pause. Another benefit, Quinton Post 3-point shooting pulls 7'4" Zach Edey away from the basket. I'll tell you one thing, dudes that big does not like venturing too far away from the rim. They're not comfortable guarding space, they're not comfortable guarding shooters. They feel the most comfortable around the rim as a rim protector. And the Warriors are starting to run some plays to get Quinton Post open for 3. So if you put 7'4", 300-pound Zach Edey in some actions, I'm sure the Warriors are going to get some open looks for Quinton Post. Now there are some downsides with starting Quinton Post. You're giving John Morant somebody to pick on. John Morant in a pick and roll, turning the corner, getting downhill on Quinton Post. Post has 0 chance of being able to contain Ja. He's way too quick, so that could potentially be a problem the Warriors have to deal with. And if you bring Quinton Post off the bench, you can line up his minutes with Ja off the court. The Warriors are gonna have to weigh the benefits of starting a lineup that could best contain Ja, which is Draymond at center in a small ball lineup, or start big to match it with Memphis' size, and try to drag Edie away from the basket with post 3-point shooting. Ja's gonna be a tough defensive match without GB2, and with Kuminga possibly missing his game, that's another option you just don't have defensively. So that matchup is going to be positive Moody, and they're going to have their hands full because Ja is probably the quickest player in the league. But on the flip side, Memphis has nobody that can guard Steph or Jimmy Butler. Desmond Bane can't guard Steph or Jimmy. Historically, he's never bothered Steph defensively, and he's way too small to deal with Jimmy. Memphis is going to try to put this young dude Jalen Wells on Steph, and that's just not going to work. That's barbecue chicken. So while Ja might be a matchup problem for the Warriors, Steph and Jimmy Butler are a bigger matchup problem for the Grizzlies. And they just fired their head coach, so their continuity and chemistry might be a little off. We'll see what kind of defensive game plan they put together. I got the Warriors winning this game and inching that much closer to the 5th seed. Anyways, that's all I got for y'all. If I entertained you or you learned something new, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. Also, follow your boy on Instagram. I'll holler at you on the next one. Peace.